Hi all, it's Once a Future Gamer here, and thanks for joining me on another Pokemon Challenge. Last time we took on Pokemon White 2 with a single Sandile. One utterly brutal martial fight aside, this was a pretty fun run, and thanks to our ability, we had it pretty smooth through a lot of the game. Today though, we return to Sinnoh, and as this is the Chinese Year of the Tiger, I asked the question of whether or not I could beat Pokemon Pearl with a single Shinx. Now, what can we say about Shinx? If you've ever played the Sinnoh games, chances are that you've used one before. It's a pretty common electric type, and Luxray is a beast. The pre-evolved form though, however, Shinx is unique with a 263 base stat total, though it is 1 point higher than a Pokemon I used a few weeks back in Hoothoot, and it's 1 point worse than another regional bird in Pidove. Our physical attack is decent. For a type where most of the best moves are special, that's not good. Our defences are bad. Our special attack is only marginally better. Our speed and HP stand at 45. Oh dear. In terms of moves, we learn moves at different levels in Diamond and Pearl as opposed to Platinum. Spark, Thunderfang and Crunch are probably about the pick of the moves. Probably Spark rather than Thunderfang will be the move of choice due to the accuracy. Discharge is more powerful, but we'll get more use out of Spark I reckon due to our prominent attack stat. In terms of TMs again, not much here. We've got FIFA's Dark coverage, but it's worse than either Bite or Crunch in these games. There's Thunder Wave, which might be handy. Charge Beam, Thunder and Thunderbolt are all useful, but probably not with our special attack. Iron Tail might be an option as much as I don't like the move. Return could be a run saver potentially. I'll probably need Double Team as well, because I think this is going to be horrible. We get very little coverage in terms of our moves. Our stats aren't the best. Could be fun though. Rourke is likely going to be a pain. Gardenia could be tricky. I'm not looking forward to tackling Byron's Steelix. Bertha will probably take a lot of attempts. And Cynthia's Garchomp is liable to be its usual aggravating self. Basically, we're going to get walled by strong ground types, especially if they're Rock and Steel too. I think it can be done, but we'll probably have to be max level without a doubt. Comment down below if you agree or not. If you do enjoy the video, don't forget to like and subscribe while you're there as well. Just the rules then. In combat, I can only use Shinx. Other Pokemon will be needed for HMs, but will not be permitted to fight. In battle, I can only use held items and Pokeballs, but outside of battle, healing is permitted. Last of all, no glitches or exploits. Using the Universal Pokemon Randomizer, I replace Piplup with Shinx so that we can do the whole run with it. This choice means that our rival gets Turtwig, and as Torterra is part ground type, this is really going to be the hardest for us to fight. I fight off the Starly and discover my Shinx has the Intimidate ability, which is potentially better than the alternative of Rivalry. Her nature is bashful, so neutral all around. I'm not unhappy with that if I'm honest, especially after last week's challenge where we had reduced attack. After we do the start of the game, we get given the Shinx and the chance to name her. I call her Star. Why not? If you look at the tail, then it seemed apt. Anyway, I got me a Pokedex, so I decided to head off into the big wide world. At least, I will after I do an errand for my dopey best friend's mum and take a parcel to him. So, if I want EVs, I need to beat Shinx for attack EVs, and I might as well focus on speed too, such as it is. So, Starly's then. This is slow. We're at level 16 by the time we get off the first route, thanks to my efforts. I get the TM for Hidden Power and realise that it's Fighting type. Now, it's not going to get benefited by our best stats, but I suppose Fighting type Hidden Power is about the best I'm going to get for taking on Rock and Steel types that have that pesky ground second typing. As we leave Jubilife City, Rod appears and challenges us. Clearly, he hasn't heard about the EV grinding I've been doing. Starly is easy and it crashes to the road after being hit with Spark. Turtwig gives marginally more trouble as I land a bite on it and it goes for withdraw. I go for Hidden Power to get around the raised defence, it survives and lands Tackle before I have to finish it with a bite attack. At level 20, we tackle Rourke in Orberg City. I think the EV training might have gone to pot since we started getting everything else mixed in there opponent-wise, but hopefully it doesn't weaken us too much. Rourke starts with Geodude, like every other first gym rock specialist ever. Geodude gets one hit with Hidden Power. That was easy. Onix survives Hidden Power and lands Rock Throw before Rourke heals his giant stone serpent. I land a Bite and then a Hidden Power in quick succession before he brings Craniados out. I land Spark for massive damage, inducing paralysis before it lands a Headbutt, and I then go on to finish it with Hidden Power. One badge down. Back to Jubilife City in the first Team Galactic encounter as they harass an old man being accompanied by a young girl. Anyway, I team up with Dawn and Star sees off Zubat while Dawn's Chimchar takes out Wurmple. I'm sure we'll never see those weird people again throughout this game. Next is Floroma Town and the Valley Windworks, and we see those weird people again. This time, they've taken hostages, and since the police aren't anywhere, I guess it's up to me, a child with an electric house pet. I get a key and head in to take on Commander Mars. Her Zubat is not a problem as it gets sparked out by Star. Pure Ugly, though, is a whole different proposition as it lands Fake Out and Scratch in quick succession before Star hits Spark for just over half its health and manages to inflict paralysis. This means we can outspeed next turn and take it out with a second hit in short order, sending the Commander packing. After going through the Eterna Forest, we've got the next gym to tackle ahead. This one is Gardenia's Grass Gym, so we're at a disadvantage for the second gym in a row. Mind you, we've got a new powerful move to help. That move, Crunch. When I face her, Cherubi survives Crunch. This bodes well for the rest of the fight. We drop its defence and it goes for growth before she heals it. That's handy as we one-hit it with a probably unnecessary crit at the second attempt. Next is Turtwig and we land Crunch. It survives and goes for withdraw before we take it out with Crunch at the second attempt. Last is Roserade, her problem ace. It goes for Stun Sport and we land Crunch for about 2/3 of its health. It eats the Citrus Berry and lands Poison Sting attacks while we try to attack with Crunch. When we do land a second Crunch, Roserade survives and Gardenia uses a Super Potion, meaning we have to start over. It's not too bad, as by the time she begins using Grass Snot, we're in a position to take Roserade out. Thankfully, paralysis only afflicts us once and we get the second badge. Next is the Jupiter fight in the Eterna Galactic building. Her Zubat isn't a challenge as Star sparks it down rapidly. I have a feeling those fights won't be hard through this game. Skuntank is a little more of a challenge though. I strike first with Spark and paralyse it, though it eats a berry and hits back with Smokescreen. My second Spark lands thankfully though, and even more fortunately it crits it, meaning that we send her running. In Hearthome City, Rod reappears and we have to have a throwdown with him. His Starly goes down to Spark, and with him already losing, he makes the brave choice to send Buizel out. Very quickly, it gets taken out by Spark. Grottle is tougher, it survives Crunch and lands a crit tackle before we take it out with another Crunch. Last up is Ponyta. Last time I took on Gen 4, I did it with a single Ponyta BTW, check out the card, and it goes down to Spark. Cat 1, Horse 0. Or rather, Cat 4, Bird, Weasel, Turtle, Horse 0. Anyway, the next major fight is versus Mylene in Veilstone City. This should be a fight we're not at an inherent disadvantage against, like the previous two gyms, so hopefully we can do well. It goes about as well as can be, as first Meditite comes out and immediately gets knocked out by Star's Spark. She goes for Lucario next, perhaps use Bone Rush on me. That's a plan that immediately fails as Star outspeeds and lands Spark, hitting it for 3/4 of its health and paralysing it. Lucario succumbs to paralysis, even with the efforts of a Citrus Berry, and Star takes it out with a second Spark. Machoke is last and Star hits it with Spark. It survives, and with Mylene's final hurrah, her only chance to regain some dignity, she goes for Leah, and Machoke is duly knocked out in quick order by another Spark. 3 badges down. Before we leave Veilstone, there's a team up with Dawn to take on some Galactic Grunts, but Star sweeps the field with Spark and Discharge attacks, taking out a Beautifly, a Dustox, a Stunky and a Krogunk, as well as Dawn's Clefairy's collateral damage in quick succession. Always happy to help a friend in need, me. Next is the Water Gym and Crash Awake. Anyone want to take bets on how this one goes? I've even taught Spark a new move ahead of it. Gyarados is not a problem as it goes down to a single Spark. That Intimidate proves to be irritating though, as Quagsire comes out next and we can't do something as simple as Electrocute it due to it being part ground type. I go for Return, our new move, and unfortunately it doesn't even do half its health. It lands Mud Sport and lowers our defence with Tail Whip as I go for another Return. Crash Awake heals it with a Super Potion and I take it out with 2 Crunches. Last is his Floatzel and I call for Spark, taking it out in very short order. That one was easy. We have a rival fight next with Rod. His Starly lands a weak quick attack and then goes down to Spark. 1 down. Next is Ponyta, who also goes down to Spark. 2 down. So far it's not looking good for him. Next is Grottle, who does put up a fight. I hit it with Return for 3/4 of its health before it lands a Razor Leaf for big damage, but I take it out with a second Return. Weasel is his last option and it goes down very quickly to Spark. I head over to Celestic Town next, where there's an odd spaceman hanging about. More Team Galactic hijinks for the Surf HM, and then back to Hearthome City to take on Fantina. Given I've got Crunch, I'm not too worried about this one. Mind you, it is close. Drifblim gets 1 hit with Spark, but the Aftermath deals some decent damage. Thanks to the Shell Bell and Drifblim's high HP though, we do heal quite a lot after. Miss Magius lands Shadow Ball for high damage and also lowers our special defence, so that could be trouble, but we one hit it with Crunch. Last is Gengar, and this is potentially do or die time. The battle is on a knife edge. Gengar goes for Confuse Ray. I hit it. I win. I don't. I probably lose. Star hits herself in confusion and Gengar attacks with Shadow Claw. The heavily special attacking Gengar against a Pokemon with loads special defense goes for a physical move. Thanks, I guess. Star survives on 7 HP, shakes off confusion, then one hits Gengar with Crunch. Guess I have to thank the AI there. Next is Canalave City, and there's a rival fight before we can even get to the gym. This fight is hard and I worry about future ones. Probably the worst part is there is Starly has evolved, meaning as a Staravia it has Intimidate. We one hit it with Spark, but the damage is done. Ponyta is next. I go for Spark, it survives and lands Fire Spin before I finish it off with Return. Heracross is next and I land Return, but it survives, hitting Star with a crit Night Slash. I take it out with a second Return. Next is Grottle. I go for Crunch to try and get the defense drop. It does barely anything and it nails Shinx with a crit Razor Leaf, leaving me weak. I go for Return, it survives and lands Mega Drain, leaving Star on 2 HP, before a crit Return takes Grottle out. Last is Buizel, and thankfully it doesn't go for Aqua Jet, meaning we can one hit it with Spark. Oh dear, I'm worried about the next rival fights, that's for sure. On the subject of annoying fights, Steel Trainer Byron is next. One particular obstacle will be annoying, I'm sure of it. Bronzor isn't too bad actually, it does hit me with Flash Cannon but 2 crunches are enough to take it out. If this was Gen 8 it would have been more effective, Steel didn't resist Dark in those gens. Steelix is a pain, just as I figured it would be. I hit it with Hidden Power, it does about 1/3 of its health and it paralyses Star with Dragon Breath before throwing up Sandstorm. I start getting hit with chip damage as well as the occasional Gyro Ball, none of which is good for Star's health, but eventually, and it's a long drawn out experience, Steelix goes down to 2 more Hidden Powers. Bastiodon is last, I hit it with Hidden Power, but with the Sandstorm up, it does minimal damage. I go for Spark to hope for Paralysis, even as it goes for Iron Defense. I actually get Paralysis on the first use of Spark, and as the Sandstorm fades, I start welting it with Hidden Power. Right up until the old man uses a full restore, and I've got to start over. Worse, a Flash Cannon lowers my special defense. Uh-oh. I managed to paralyse it with Spark again at the second attempt and then tried to Hidden Power it for dear life, right up until the point that it nearly knocks Star out with Ancient Power. Star holds on, the paralysis kicks in and she just about manages to take Bastiodon out. Phew, 3rd major fight in a row where I've been a whisker from defeat. That isn't good. Anyway, story stuff is next. There's a fight with Commander Saturn at Lake Valor, and it's another one I come within an inch of losing. Kadabra outspeeds Star and lands Psychic before going down to Crunch. Toxicroak is tough, I hit it with Spark, it counters with Poison Jab for big damage and then eats a Citrus Berry. I go for Return, it narrowly survives before going for Mud Bomb, and it's the turning point of the battle because Mud Bomb misses. I take it out with a second Return before smashing into Bronzor with Spark. It survives and goes for Iron Defense before I take it out with another Spark. Close. I really need to get stronger and quick because that's 4 fights in a row where defeat has been the flip of a coin. Mars fight next. This one is a little easier, but Calamity is narrowly averted. Golbat goes down to Spark. Bronzor takes big damage from Spark but goes for Iron Defense and survives the second one, spamming the move over and over. I take it out with Hidden Power. When Pure Ugly comes out, it lands Slash for decent damage and I hit it with Spark. It then lands Hypnosis after eating a Citrus Berry and hits Slash and Feint Attack before Star wakes up and finishes it with Spark. That could very easily have gone badly. Let's move on and head for the next gym. The Candice fight does not go well. Snover is just about tanky enough to survive Return with a sliver of health. I get hit with Razor Leaf and hail damage, but at least I get her to waste a Hyper Potion. Abomasnow is another problem though, as it's even tankier, and minus fire moves, it's actually quite threatening. I hit it with Return, doing big damage, but it hits me hard with a couple of Wood Hammers. Greatest move name ever, by the way. And although the recoil damage does take it out, Star goes down too. Guess I should get stronger then. I grind up to level 69 and then make a try on her again. I might not need to be this strong at this time for it, but sooner or later I'll need those levels. Second attempt is a mess up after I get hit by Grass Whistle from Abomasnow and then smashed by Wood Hammer, Avalanche and Swagger. I take it out, but Star hits herself in confusion versus Medicham at low health and goes down. Third attempt goes much better as Snover is one hit with Return. Abomasnow takes big damage from Return and then uses Avalanche, which does about half our health, but we take it out with a crit, second Return. Medicham is next, it narrowly survives Return and goes for Bulk Up before Candice heals it. I go for Spark and do about 3/4 of its health. As I try to finish it, it uses Detect before a third Spark takes it out. All of this while the hail is coming down our lad. Last is Sneasel, it outspeeds and lands Feint Attack. Fighting type Hidden Power might seem a sensible move here, but I go for Return instead to one-hit it. 7 badges down, moving on. Next, there's a fight with Cyrus. Murkrow is easy, it goes down to Spark. Golbat, well, do you really want to guess how that one went? It went down to Spark. Sneasel is last, surviving Return and landing a Slash in exchange before eating a berry and Cyrus using a Super Potion on it. The fight ends decisively when Star lands Hidden Power on it to take it out. There's a Saturn fight immediately after. This one is easier than the last as Kadabra isn't fast enough to outspeed this time and it goes down to Crunch. Bronzor surprisingly goes down to a single Spark before Toxicroak comes out and a single crit Spark is enough to take it down. I'll happily take the win there and move on. Next bit of the game is Horrible. This is probably the single worst bit of any single Pokemon challenge, probably worse than the Tate and Liza battle in Emerald, the double battle with Mars and Jupiter on Spear Pillar. I actually win first time, but it's a long slog. I use Spark on both of the Bronzor as they launch tentative extrasensory attacks at me. What doesn't help in this fight is the rival and his Munchlax, who is genuinely useless. It's annoying because he's bad here, and then in the final fight, he'll turn into the genetically perfect offspring of every single champion that's ever lived. When one of the Bronzor goes down, Purugly comes out and I hit it with Spark. I don't get paralysis, but it lands 2 slashes. First on Star, then on Munchlax, but I take it down with Return at the second attempt before taking a Golbat out with Spark. Then, the surviving Bronzor puts up Reflect. So, to take it out, I go for Hidden Powers while whiling away time. When Skuntank comes out, I know I can't one-hit it because of Reflect, so I go for Spark to hope for paralysis. It takes out Munchlax in this time, and Rod decides to go for an attacking option in Staraptor. As the Reflect fades, Skuntank survives Return, Staraptor misses takedown on it, and I have to finish it with another Return. Last Golbat goes down very quickly to Spark. Woo! In theory, Cyrus shouldn't be too bad. Let's test that theory right now. Honchkrow goes down to a single Spark. That wasn't a problem. Gyarados is his next choice, and that's either Brilliant or Suicidal. Suicidal because I'll one-hit it with Spark, which I promptly do. Brilliant because his Intimidate weakens Star. Weavile is a problem. It hits like a train and I can't really do too much to it in terms of damage. It outspeeds as well. It takes me out with X-Scissor, Ice Punch and Night Slash. Doesn't help that Cyrus heals it and it has a berry. Guess I'll have to try paralysing it next time. On that next time, Honchkrow and Gyarados go down in exactly the same fashion and I get paralysis on Weavile first turn after being hit with Brick Break. Cyrus does heal it, but there's a weird glitch here where he uses a full restore but it still stays paralysed. I had no control over that one, sorry I guess, before a Spark and a Hidden Power take it down. Crobat lands Bite and I fear the worst with a flinch coming, but it doesn't happen as Star lands Spark. Unfortunately, it survives. It goes for Cross Poison, leaving Star weak and poisoned, but she manages to pull through and take it out with another attack. Anyway, that's the Team Galactic stuff out of the way, so let's make a try on Volkner. This could go either way. We resist each other's stab attacks, so let's see what happens. Raichu is first and it just about survives Return. Worse though, the static paralyses Star, so I've got that to contend with for the full fight. Volkner heals it and I take it down with another Return and a Hidden Power. Luxray's next and it's tanky. I have to hit it with several returns to deal with it, all while it keeps blasting me with charge beam attacks. That's not too bad. As this run has testified, this line isn't a special attacker. I eventually take it out, but it is a grueling effort. Octillery is next. It lands Aurora Beam and drops my attack. It doesn't do much good as I do one hit it with Spark. Last is Ambipom and I go for Hidden Power, doing decent damage before going into Return. In this fight, all Ambipom does is land Agility and Nasty Plot, which is handy. If it actually attacked rather than boosting its stats, this fight might have gone very, very differently. Volkner does heal the two-tailed monkey, but I take it out with a pair of crit Hidden Powers and I take the final badge. Righto then, I'll smash through Victory Road and then there's the final rival fight. I make a try at level 82 to see if this can be done or not, but I'm not hopeful, put it that way. It's actually unsettling how easily I lose as I can't even one-hit Staraptor with Spark after Intimidate. It goes into U-turn and I hit Torterra with Return. It does about a fifth of its health and then it one-hits me with Earthquake from pretty much full health. This is bad. What follows is an absolutely horrific grinding session. Strength might not be enough, that's a terrifying thing. We were nearly 30 levels higher than the Torterra and we did nothing to it. The grinding you're seeing here is at double speed, and the reason I'm one-hitting the Graveler is because I've got choice specs on. Not that they'll do me much good in the fight, his team is too varied. Fighting type hidden power isn't going to do much, even if it is boosted. Heracross would laugh at it. It's pretty worrying that I can't always one-hit a Machoke 40 odd levels lower. While I'm grinding, I'd like to talk to you for a moment, because I've been doing these challenges for a few months now, and they're probably, relatively speaking, amongst my most successful videos. I am not a successful YouTuber at this time, but anyone who does take the time out of their day to watch something I created, I truly thank you from the bottom of my heart. There's a lot of stuff on this site, and the fact you're picking mine, like I said, thanks. This little gratitude speech is trying to distract me from the numb horror that I might actually need to go the double team route to beat the rival fight. At level 90, I make a second attempt to see what actually happens now. It goes marginally better, but given the state of the first fight, it couldn't really go worse. Staraptor does go down to Spark. Torterra doesn't use Earthquake. I get hit with Leaf Storm and a pair of Crunchers as I retaliate with Crunch and return attacks of my own. But it's a grueling fight made longer by using Synthesis. Only a crit Crunch really gives me a win here, because I doubt I'd have knocked Torterra out otherwise. Next is Snorlax. I hit it with Spark and Crunch. It lands a Crunch of its own, and the final blow is an Earthquake from which it hits me when I'm in red health, and Star goes down. Better, but still not great. I'll get a few more levels and see how I fare, then I might have to use the double team strategy. I make a third bang at it at level 95. Staraptor goes down with Spark. I land Crunch on Torterra and it hits Earthquake, doing probably about 3/4 of my health before I hit it with Return and it takes me out with Leaf Storm. Okay then, I guess this is a strategy that I have to go with. I have to consider which move to replace with double team, and I ultimately go for Crunch. So, double team. I get 6 of them up versus Staraptor, and it lands Steel Wing and Aerial Ace attacks, neither of which do much, before I one-hit it with Spark. I land Return on Torterra, it misses a Crunch, and then my next return is a crit. Boom! Snorlax also goes down to a crit Spark. Heracross goes down to 2 returns, landing Rock Slide in exchange. Floatzel goes down to Spark. Rapidash takes big damage from return, but lands Will-O-Wisp before I take it out with Hidden Power and Spark. Phew, at last. While I think on, these are our stats going into the Elite Four. How bad is that special defence? And the regular defence isn't much better either. Special attack is mediocre. Speed and regular attack are probably the best stats, but for level 95, they're nothing special. Comment below on if you think I can do this or not. Aaron shouldn't be a problem. Bertha will likely be a nightmare. Flint and Lucia might not be too bad, their steel types aside. Cynthia though, well, we were going to need double team anyway. Aaron is harder than I thought he would be. We can't one-hit Dustox. First I use Return for big damage, then he heals it, and I have to knock it out with 3 Sparks after he uses double team. Star even gets hit by a Bug Buzz. Beautifly is a one-hit from Spark. Heracross tanks a Return, counters with a Night Slash and then goes down to a Spark attack. Vespiquen goes down to Spark. 2 returns in the Spark take out Drapion, which is far from reassuring. This was a way messier fight than it should have been. Versus Bertha then. I hit Quagsire with Return, but it goes for Dig. I try a double team, but it lands the attack before I take it out with a second return. The first hit on Hippowdon is a crit, but it lands Stone Edge for massive damage before surviving the second return and knocking Star out. Second attempt goes the same way, knocked out by Hippowdon. Screw it, I guess I might as well max out my level, and I figure I might have to use double team on Bertha too. At level 100, our stats aren't that different from what they were at level 95. Go figure. At the rematch with Bertha, the problem is I keep getting clattered with Sandstorm damage. It takes far too many blows to knock out her Pokemon, and as a result, I get worn down with damage over time, even with the double teams up. This fight takes a lot of tries. Sometimes it's Hippowdon that takes Star out, sometimes it's Golem. There was even one occasion where it was Sudowoodo. Anyway, at the start of the successful attempt, I get 6 double teams up. Quagsire is annoying, having double team Dig and Protect. None of these moves are good for my PP, and they're even worse than a Sandstorm. I hit it after 2 double teams, taking it out eventually after what feels like forever. Hippowdon goes down to 2 returns, the second one a fortunate crit. It missed Stone Edge, which puts us in a great position, having most of our health left. Golem doesn't land an attack on us, but we have to blast it with a lot of hidden power attacks. That Sandstorm is brutal for raising its special defense. Maybe I should have kept Crunch. It doesn't help that she heals it. Anyway, it goes down eventually. Whiscash goes down to 2 returns, missing Rock Slide. Sudowoodo gets hit with Spark and then lands Earthquake. Thankfully, we survive and can take it out with a second Spark. Only took about 20 attempts. Flint then. This one will likely be easier. Said hopefully anyway. Still probably won't be easy. And actually, this one was definitely easier than the last. I landed Spark on Rapidash for 3/4 of its health while it threw up Sunny Day. Flint healed it, I took it out with Spark and return. Infernape outspeeds and lands Thunder Punch before I hit it with Spark. It lands Flare Blitz, which backed by the Sun isn't a pleasant thing to get hit by, but the recoil means we take it out with the next Spark. We land Return on Lopunny and it fails with Mirror Coat before I take it out with another Return. When Steelix comes out, I blast away at it with Hidden Power. He heals it and lands a Rock Tomb, but otherwise we come out pretty unscathed. Last is Drifblim and I one-hit it with Spark. Although the Aftermath deals decent damage, we survive. I popped a Max Elixir because my PP was looking low before going after Lucian. First effort was a loss thanks to his Mr. Mime popping up Reflect. I did knock it out, but it was more than capable of shrugging off Return and Spark attacks. I didn't take much damage versus Mr. Mime, but I took a ton of damage versus Bronzong, thanks in part to that Reflect. It shrugged off the Sparks, it's tanky and has a berry, but does go down in the end before Girafarig narrowly survived Return and then put Star down with Psychic. Definitely should have saved Crunch for this fight, guess I keep going. Lucian takes many tries. Not quite as many as Bertha, but still more than is funny. I get knocked out plenty of times, by Bronzong, by Girafarig, by Alakazam, and even by Medicham a few times. On the winning run, I get lucky, surprise surprise. Our low special defence is really costly in this fight, especially when it comes to getting blasted by stab psychic attacks. Mr. Mime goes down to a crit return. Bronzong gets hit by Spark and then goes for Calm Mind before I crit it with the second Spark. I hit Girafarig with Return and it lands Psychic, which isn't too bad considering we're at high health. Lucian heals it and I take it out with Return and Spark. Alakazam misses Focus Blast but unfortunately survives Return on a fraction of its health before being healed. The second Return one hits it. Last is Medicham. We land Return, it survives and hits us with Thunder Punch, which Star shakes off, and then we finish it with a second Return. Cynthia then, and if the last lot were horrible, I have a feeling this will be diabolical. Would you believe how close this first attempt was though? Managed to make it all the way through the dangerous options, through getting 6 double teams up versus Spiritomb and then knocking it out with Spark attacks. Through Gastrodon and Garchomp going down to an unholy battering of Return attacks and desperate dodges, and Lucario and Milotic getting hit by a flurry of Spark attacks, only to get knocked out by Roserade. That's the way it goes, I guess. Eventually, I get an attempt where I get 6 double teams up versus Spiritomb. Embargo is dangerous because if it lands then my Shell Bell becomes useless for a time. Spiritomb does like to throw out Silver Wind, but considering it isn't stab, we tank it quite well when it does land. Thankfully, it never gets the stat buff, but it does go down to 2 Sparks. Gastrodon goes down to 2 Returns, missing Muddy Water. Garchomp outspeeds and misses Giga Impact before I smack it with Return. It misses Dragon Rush and I smack it with another Return before it eats the berry. It misses another Dragon Rush, another Return, and Cynthia full restores it. I hit it with another Return, it then lands Giga Impact and Star survives on 9 HP, but I can hit it with 2 more Returns to take that monster out. Next is Lucario and I take it out with a crit Spark. I hit Milotic with Spark, paralysing it, and it misses Surf. Cynthia full restores it, I hit it with Spark again, paralyse it again, and take it out with a third Spark. Last is Roserade, the nemesis from last time. I hit it with Return, it goes for extra sensory, I survive and smash into it with another Return to defeat her. And that's the game. I enter the Hall of Fame, and we call it a day. Oh my word, that endgame was brutal. The final rival battle, Bertha and Lucian, were horrible. Cynthia wasn't as bad as I feared, but that was stress-inducing. This might have been one of the hardest ones so far. Gen 4 challenges always feel rough, especially treks through Sinnoh. What can we do next week? Tell you what, how about we do Pokemon Emerald with a single Cacnea? That should be interesting. Thanks so much for joining me on this run through Pokemon Pearl. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, all that shizzle. Any further ideas for challenges, speak up, drop them in the comments section below and other upcoming areas. Always happy to hear what ideas you may have. I think we're almost out of time now, so this is Once and Future Gamer saying thanks again, take care now. This has been Pokemon Pearl with a single Shinx. See you next time, have a great day, bye bye now.